Okay, good evening, everybody. This is Ben Stephenson, and we just want to welcome you.
This is the ambassador lunch invitation card. You see it before anybody else does.
Oh my gosh, guys, this is unbelievable on the VIP team call tonight. We know that many of you, most of you actually are going to watch this in recording mode, but thank you for the group of you that are able to just give us this moral support by being here with us live tonight. And I have the amazing Art Jonak. We're so excited to have Art on this webinar tonight. We're going to cover actually 8 hours worth of information. Art has said that
that's exciting.
8 hours. He's not going to go to sleep. He's going to be on the webinar with us until he catches the plane for Florida. And just Art, thank you so much for your, really, quite frankly, your generosity.
It's going to be like a Bruce Springsteen concert. It just keeps going.
A friend of mine does the sound for Bruce Springsteen, and I think
nice.
They last like, hours.
Yeah, I've been to one that went way past midnight, and it was awesome. It was fantastic.
Hey guys, again, welcome, and we're just so excited to have everybody here tonight. And so we have the amazing and wonderful Art Jonak with us tonight. Art is a gentleman that I've gotten to know a little bit over the last few years. It's interesting. One time, and I don't even know how this happened, Art, but I had reached out to you and I had some questions, or we were talking about something. You just kind of said, I'm just going to call you. And we ended up having like an hour and a half, just intense call, and talked about all sorts. I don't even know if you remember that. We talked about things. We talked about the industry. Yeah. I I remember the exact parking lot in Kansas City that I was in. And, daring not to move or go anywhere. And I just remember even then the amazing information, that you've been in the industry so long. And so what I'd like to do, I know some of the folks did hear your story last night. We're going to kind of cover some different stuff tonight, but would you go ahead, just because most of the people will hear this recording, we didn't get it recorded last night. Tell us a little bit about your background, Art. Let's start there.
Well, I got 2 legs. I put on my pants 1 leg at a time. So all this extraordinary stuff about Art Jonak, you can just throw that out the window. And I appreciate the kind words, Ben. And first of all,
you're perfect, right?
Yeah, perfect. That's right. Perfectly not perfect. That's actually a very good lesson for us. Is if you're looking for the perfect company, for the perfect sponsor, for the perfect product, guess what? It doesn't exist. So at some point in time, you just say, I'm going to pick a company to have my problems with. And then you work your way to the top. And Ben, you're a perfect example of this. I mean, I've seen your journey, and I got to, if I had a hat here in Texas, I'd tip my hat to you, because you just kept going, and then you had one thing running, and you said, hey, let me go build. And eventually, boom, it clicked. And then all of a sudden you got that swagger, and that swagger says, it is freaking working for me, and I love it. And now I got to help others do it. So, hat tip for that. But really, I won't spend a whole lot of time on my background. I could do a 2-hour talk on the journey, ups and downs, sideways, all this stuff. But it's been 20 years in direct selling, and I can say that direct selling really was the one place, if there's one lesson that I have, and the reason that I'm such a strong advocate for our profession, is that I don't know of another profession that allows somebody to come up to an Art Jonak when he isn't all together with what he needs to be doing. He doesn't have all his personal development. He looks like he shouldn't be successful. And they breathe belief in them. Because, Ben, the greatest gift we can give somebody is the gift of believing in them. And our profession does that at a greater scale than any profession I know. Because if there's a girl at Dairy Queen and she's a single mom and she's working and she's crying herself to sleep at night because she doesn't have anybody that believes in her, who's going to believe in her? It's not going to be her manager, most likely. It's not going to be some stranger that walks. It's going to be that Mary Kay distributor. It's going to be the Isagenix distributor. It's going to be somebody that walks in and says, hey, I believe in you. And even though there might be a monetary reason for it down the road, that belief is going to mean everything to them. And then they're going to put them on a path of personal development and help them. And they're going to mentor them. And we do that at a bigger scale than anybody I know. Any profession I know. I dare anybody to tell me that and somebody does it better than we do. And that's why I am where I am, because somebody believed in me. And somebody breathed that into me. It took me 3 years to get going and have success. And today, life is, like pinch me, right? I mean, it's extraordinary. We've been to 86 countries now. We go on vacation. My family, we have this saying that, seize the moment so you don't miss the memories. And so if we vacation somewhere, or we go visit someplace, or I'm going to go build in Spain, for example. So we just went there for 90 days, and just rented a villa in Marbella and stayed for 90 days. Most places we stay for 2 weeks. So it's not one of those jet in and jet out. And I got 3 kids. So Ben, you know how it is. You got to buy your own air ticket, the air ticket for the wife, and then an air ticket for 3 people. That ain't cheap. But it's only because of the profession that's allowed me that. So, I've been humbled by it, and I'm happy to give back. And I can tell you, one of the things that I've done in the last, and I know I'm going long here, but for the last 23 months, I felt like I plateaued in my growth. And I said, who are the world changers right now? And I kept getting driven back to this place called Silicon Valley, right, in San Francisco. And so for the last 23 months, I have lived, eaten, breathed how they think. I've hung out with them. We've gone to conferences with them. I went to Snapchat headquarters a couple of times. And it's been a growth curve like this, Ben. It's been amazing. And I've been able to bring back from Silicon Valley what we have to anticipate, what we need to look out for, what we can take advantage of inside direct selling. And it's really exciting. And I'm going to be bringing that, some of that content to Mastermind event. But if you want to ask me about some of that, I'd be happy to share it here too. So back to you.
Oh, awesome. Well, and again, we gave Art a big introduction last night. I know some of you missed that, but Art has teams all over the world, has an absolutely massive, massive team. Been building the team for 14 years, which is impressive because we're kind of in this, era of many people switching companies every few years. I think I have one friend that's on, I think their 10th company, Art, in the last 4 years, I think.
Right.
4 or 5 years. And this is a person that's amazing. They're really very skilled, but just, trying to find that right combination. So, but also Art is, of course, the founder and the producer of the MLM Mastermind event, which will
direct selling mastermind event.
Direct selling mastermind event, which will take, exactly. Let's get that right. Which will take place in Orlando, Florida this weekend. We're going to talk about that at the tail end of the webinar more, but this is really just the most respected conference that happens on an annual basis in the direct sales industry with primarily 7-figure income earners who speak. I am not available to speak yet because I'm not a 7-figure earner. I'm working on it. But actually, Art did have JJ Burton that I enrolled.
I did, and I know he's watching because that last flight he was watching, and he did a screenshot and he put it up. So hi, JJ, right there.
JJ, see, he's here. He's here. And the thing about Art, guys, you have to be really careful. Is Art kind of watches you. So like all the time, I'm like, Art could be watching. He watches what you say, he watches what you do, and then you maybe get an invitation to speak. So you got to watch yourself 100% of the time.
I do. And that's a very good point. It's not about the 7 figures. It really isn't. You have to show success long-term. We have probably 14-point criteria to have and the platform. So we do watch. We're like the friendly FTC.
Exactly. Well, so what I want to do tonight is I want to talk a little bit about, you obviously are surrounded by 7-figure earners, 6- and 7-figure earners. That's who's going to be primarily presenting this weekend. On one hand, Art, they're just like everybody. And on the other hand, they have habits and they've developed skills that are in the top infinitesimal % of people that are in this industry. So one of the things that I wanted to really focus on this webinar tonight was, let's talk about some of those skill sets. Let's talk about some of those different ways of thinking of somebody that's at the 7-figure a year level. How are they the same? And how are they different?
Well, everything is built on the basics. So every person when we talk about 7 figures a year, that's extraordinary income. It's not common. And we have to take into account that that's such a small percentage of people that achieve that. It's virtually zero in the grand scheme of things. And So they've done something that's really beyond amazing. And the six-figure earners, I think the people that earn $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year, I think they've done something extraordinary. They've really separated themselves from the pack. And what the top earners that have done it consistently, because there's bottle rocket earning, right? Where you come in, you earn it, and then it dips, and then you're jumping to another company, and that's not of interest to us. We really like there's a gentleman named Wes Linden. He just landed in Orlando. He's going to be the MC for our event. You probably know Wes. He's going to give a great presentation, and he's been with one company for 17 years. 17 years he's been with one company and only one company. He does probably 30 vacations a year, and he's got a great passive income. And his topic this year at the Mastermind event is how to make the small, slight adjustments when you're meeting with a prospect that make all the difference. But it's a basic topic. Even though he's a freaking rock star, right? He's the best-selling author in England in our space. So I would say that they, number one, are absolute masters of the basics. That completely sticks out for me. And then number two, they realize that their focus forms their future, right? Your focus forms your future. So what are you focusing on in your business right now that really can dictate where you're going with that business? And so, the attitudes have changed quite a bit from living in the 90s of our profession. You might remember that living in the 90s was, pictures of jets, private jets and yachts and mansions and wearing fur coats in the summertime, like really strange behavior that we had. And now you're really starting to see a shift where it's almost like the Uber effect. When you listen to an ad for Uber, I don't know if they have ads for Uber where you are, Ben, but here in Houston, they run ads on the radio. They're 30-second spots, and the 30-second spots basically say, hey, make money in your downtime, get your business started in about 2 minutes, and, you don't have to have a boss. It's not your traditional extra income kind of job. And that's really the masses of people that we're going to go sponsor, right? It's people that want to get an extra income, and they want to do it in their own time, in their own hours. And I see a lot of the top earners really shifting their philosophy from leading with the $1 million income, which the government doesn't want us doing anyway in the United States and Europe, to shifting to saying, hey, how would you like to earn an extra $500 a month? Doing it in your spare time on your own hours, in between your job. And I'm seeing companies do extraordinarily well with that. I'm seeing companies that are, in the top DSM 100 list, and they keep moving up 2 or 3 or 4 notches a year. It's built on strength. It's built on stability. It's built on customers. And to me, these top earners, they're starting to really get that. They're not leading with the 90s philosophies anymore. And I see them happier than ever before, Ben. They feel really good. They go to bed smiling. They feel within integrity. They know that they're bringing in the majority of people on something that they can attain. And then if a few of them really break through and go get that $10,000 a month or $20,000 a month, great. But that's not what we're going to bring them in on. And that's a shift we're seeing right now. There's a big reset button that's been given to us by the FTC, and many companies have already taken advantage of it. And what I want to share with everybody, some of you may have heard about, the government kind of looking at our profession. And the reality is what the government's asking of us is actually making our business model better. And that's a hard shift sometimes to get. But I'm on the board of directors of several companies, and I see the numbers, I see the metrics. And I see that once they implement these items that the government wants from us, like not having big income claims up front, having a good customer ratio, they're actually better for it. And I think our profession is going to get healthier and healthier as we move forward with these. And every profession has to change. If they don't change, it's a problem. I can give you a quick case study from Silicon Valley. Are you interested? Just to give you an idea of what change looks like.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that, because give us a snapshot of what you've learned when you're looking at the tech companies.
Yeah. There. So let's take, for example, Uber, right? So Uber pops out of nowhere 5 years ago. And in that time, they've become, their valuations over $20 billion, which is, more than any direct selling company. They are recruiting 50,000 drivers a month, which for a direct selling company would be an amazing number. I think we would all agree. They've made it very easy. The user interface, it's called UI and UX. When you open up your Uber app, it's intuitive, right? You don't have to go get a PDF manual to learn how to use it. It's very intuitive. And that's very difficult to do, to create a piece of software that's easy to use. And that's a place where we as direct sellers haven't quite gotten it yet. So one of the things I see happening down the road is that we're going to really improve the user interface and the user experience, the UI and the UX, of how we onboard people, how we bring customers on board, how we bring on distributors. It's going to be a lot easier to do. We're going to be able to do it through the earpods. There's the Amazon Echo. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Some of you may not, but the Amazon Echo is a device that's about this tall. I could bring mine up here, and you just talk to it, and you can place an order. And when Amazon Echo was introduced, people were like, they weren't sure what it is. And now they have 5,000 companies a month writing software from Amazon Echo. So if you want to order a pizza, you say, hey, Domino's, and I want to order a pepperoni pizza. And she says, okay. And boom, it's on its way. So what does that mean for us as direct sellers? That means that one day we're going to be able to say, Amazon Echo, Alexa is her name. Alexa, you say, hey, Alexa. And she wakes up and you say, Isagenix, and say, yes, I'd like to update my Autoship to be 2 of these instead of 1 of these, right? That's where we're going. And how exciting is that going to be? And that's because that's where Silicon Valley is going. So, what does change look like? Well, change looks like that as far as just tech. But what does change look like for us in the space of prospects, right? So they're bringing on 50,000 drivers a month. These are all people that, with a flick of a button, in 2 minutes can become a driver. They get verified depending on which state they're in, their driver's license and their insurance. And then they can immediately start making money. They can make $500 extra a week. And it's a little bit easier for them, right, Ben? Because they don't have to make a prospect list. They don't have to maybe get some product to sample. They don't have to learn a script to go talk to people. So on the front end, they may have it easier than we do. And that's okay, because what they're creating is 50,000 people that have tasted entrepreneurism, right? They tasted being their own boss. They tasted working on their own time. In our profession, we also have the chance of creating a passive income. The Uber driver doesn't have that, right? So the Uber driver takes up 3 or 4 fares a night, and then he has to do it again the next day and has to do it again the next day. But Ben, you and I go create a customer inside of our business, and as long as we take care of that customer and they order month to month, then we don't start from zero every month, right? We start with that one customer's $5 every month, and then we have 10 customers and it's $50, or however the metrics work out. The Uber driver does not have access to that passive income. But let's look at the big picture. You're probably familiar with a company called Tesla, right? Yeah. So there's this thing called autonomous driving, self-driving cars. And some of you might be thinking, what is the art talking about? Well, believe it or not, in 5 years, 6 years, you're going to see a lot more self-driving cars. Singapore right now has an 8-block city center where it's just self-driving cars. They're building a freeway from Seattle to Vancouver, and that freeway is only for self-driving cars. And they're building that right now. So stuff is happening. Here's what's interesting. On the self-driving cars, the programming of the car is now really simple. What's tricky is the outlier part, is the edge case scenarios. So let's say, Ben, you're driving in a self-driving car, you hit the button, it's driving itself, and then a truck comes in front of you, and it looks like a cloud. Bam, you can't tell the difference, right? That's an edge case scenario. So Google has had cars on the road for a long time, and they're collecting, on average, 1 million miles of self-driving data, which you say is a lot. But then you look at Tesla, and Tesla's been collecting 1 million miles of self-driving data a day. And you have to say, who's going to win this race, right? Who's going to win this race? And to make the story very simple, Tesla is introducing the next model next year. And they've sold more of those than they've sold completely all their cars up to this point combined. So now they're going to have 500,000 more cars on the road collecting self-driving mile data. And this takes me back to Uber. You see, Travis, the CEO of Uber, he said, if we don't get to self-driving cars before Tesla, they're probably going to put us out of business. Now think about that. See, what is that? That basically means that if he doesn't get those cars out there before Tesla does, and they're behind the 8 ball, like if I were a betting man, going Tesla, right? Because they're collecting 1 million self-driving miles a day of data. And so now you see Uber self-driving cars in Philadelphia. They're there already, and they've got a driver next to it just to make sure it's working fine. So all these drivers, they're not going to have jobs in a couple of years. See, this is how change happens. It happens very, very quickly. But they've had a taste of what it's like to work in their own time and their downtime. And this is where our space is so powerful, Ben, is that how is Silicon Valley going to automate or make the fact that you believe in somebody, how are they going to autonomize that? They can't, right? You can't autonomize believing in somebody. You can't autonomize helping somebody start. And that in itself is giving us a big advantage. But I just wanted to paint that picture to show you that there's a company that can go from 0 in 5 years to 20 billion in net value. And if they don't beat Tesla to self-driving, they could be gone. Wow, right? That's fast change. And so change is coming at us very, very quickly. But in direct selling, it's a people business. And the change happens on how we order. But the actual people business part of it, I don't think that's going to change a whole lot.
And it's interesting, Art, because, I happen to kind of know a few things coming up for Isagenix in the next year. And interestingly enough, there is a tremendous additional focus on our apps, on mobile. Isagenix, will be launching, really a whole new look and feel, all new websites,
yes,
distributor websites, new apps. I mean, it's like, this is kind of the advantage of being with basically $1 billion company. Even though I know there's some, really cool startups out there, but one of the advantages is that, we've got some resources to,
yes,
to do some of that kind of stuff. So it is so exciting to see where this industry is going. And I mean, you're in the perfect spot to see that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's interesting. I was thinking about this the other day. I've been doing this for 35 years. And I remember when I was in Amway, when I got my bonuses in an envelope, Art, and I took, I got a check from my enroller, and then I literally figured out the bonuses, and I did it just for the people I personally sponsored. They then physically did it by hand. I mean, no, people are like, no way. It was never that way. It was that way.
It was. It absolutely was. And if you ordered your genealogy, it would come in boxes with Federal Express, and you'd have to pay per page. To get it.
Exactly. And we used to have with Amway this deal with MCI. And so sometimes, the residuals would come in at like $1.82. And it was crazy. I mean, trying to pass all that down line. So let's shift gears just for a second. Let's talk a little bit about, we've got some newer people that are on this webinar, newer people that'll be watching this. And for me, Art, there's this like flip that switches when people go from I'm kind of curious and this is kind of cool and I like this environment and I like these products to I want to build. So talk a little bit about that shift, which quite frankly often happens at like a mastermind event.
Conference.
Talk about that shift that goes from, okay, I'm a spectator to I'm a participant. What happens and why that often happens at an event?
Yeah, well, it's there's a gentleman named Eugene Hong who's going to be a presenter at the mastermind, and he's going to talk about how he follows up with people. And he's a master at it. And one of the things that you just touched on is that just because somebody signs to become a distributor doesn't mean that you should change your follow-up with them, because that moment doesn't mean that's the moment they're going to take off and run with it, right? It may be another year before they go do anything. But right here on my wall behind me, I don't know if you see it, those are letters that I had a painter in China draw for me. And it says freedom in Chinese. And you should have seen how nervous he was when he had to draw that, because I asked him, can you write the words freedom? And this was many years ago. And he was just like, is there another word you want me to write? Because it wasn't a common thing that people would write down. And I think the shift, Ben, is when people at some point recognize that they can go and accelerate their path to financial freedom, that they can accelerate the path that they're not beholden to anybody financially. So, Ben, if you think of that moment where you paid off everything, I mean, literally paid off the house, the car, the debt, and you had, and on top of that, you had enough money in the bank that if you just had to live off of the interest in the bank, you still could live. That feeling is second to none, right? Nobody can dictate to you based financially on something. Now, the government could dictate to you, but not financially on something. And so the moment that people get a taste of this passive thing where, wow, I did the work right one time, 2 months ago, I signed up a distributor, a customer, and now I'm getting paid again and again and again and again for a long time on the work that I did. When you help somebody taste that, and maybe it's $1.80 residual, like you said, even with the old Amway, telephone program, something changes, something shifts. And to me, that's the shift that when you see the light bulbs go on, I call them diamond eyes, right? Their eyes just become these diamonds. And now they're willing to go to work, right? You're not pushing that wet noodle anymore. Now they're saying, hey, what do I need to do to double the size of this income? What do I need to double it again? And you've got a student that's really willing to work. And now here's the catch. I've got downstairs, I've got my kids, and people say, well, how do we motivate them? We got to motivate them, right? And we can motivate them through fear. Then if you don't do this, bad things will happen to you. You're gonna have to go have a worse job than you have. Or we can use reward motivation. If you do this, there's an iPhone program and you can win it. We can do all kinds of motivation. Some of that works sometimes, but the motivation that I found that works best once the person is, sees that freedom possibly, is just like my kids when they have to clean their room and we tell them go clean your room, they're not that motivated. But if my wife Ann turns to me and says, honey, can you help her clean her room? You should see my daughter's eyes. Oh, dad's going to help me, right? Because I'm partnering with her. I'm getting on my knees and I'm helping her put the Legos away. So now when that distributor gets that look and is really showing up for you, that's the time to partner with them. Don't be a manager to them. This is the time to say, let's go shoulder to shoulder and go talk to the next person together. Let's get on the phone with them together. Let's Zoom with them together. And that shift that we were talking about before you partner with them, like on that level, at a convention, it could be talking to somebody in the elevator. It could be that one testimonial from the stage. It could be the person you're sitting next to. It could be just, seeing somebody that just nowhere near is as smart as you, having better success than you from the stage in your mind. It could be any 1% thing that could happen anywhere in that event. And it's not always from the stage. It could be hanging out at lunch with somebody. It could be just, you can't even afford lunch yet. So you brought yourself a sandwich, right? And now you sit down with somebody that's having a sandwich and up walks somebody that says, you know what? I remember when I used to have to bring sandwiches to the convention. And they sit down and they have a chat with you. And that certainly couldn't have happened if you didn't show up at the conference. So then it's those 1% things that may not always be from the stage that sometimes get people to do it. I know there's a lady named Sarah Robbins. She's presenting at the Mastermind event. She came to the Mastermind, I think 5 years ago. She was a kindergarten teacher. And for her, she went into the elevator and she was in that elevator with one of the speakers. And that conversation that she had gave her more belief to go and build it. And today her organization does $700 million in sales a year, right? But it was, she enjoyed the stuff from the stage. She enjoyed the content. She took a lot of notes. She's a meticulous teacher, but it was a conversation in the elevator that really sparked for her. So you don't know where it's going to be, but you got to show up if you want it to happen.
So speaking of events, let's talk about the Mastermind event this weekend. So tell us more about that event, the audience, and what can be expected there, and how, I think for the first time, we could participate.
Yeah, well, you can always participate by coming to the event, but that's not always convenient for everybody. Maybe you're watching this and you're brand new and you're just trying to say, hey, I'm trying not to spend money, I'm trying to earn money. So we have the event in Orlando. This is our 12th Mastermind event we have every year. And the idea of the Mastermind is to bring some of the best in the world. Not necessarily people who want to speak because they have something to sell. It's people that I ask to speak because they're spending 99% of their time building their business. And they're actually doing me a favor by walking away from their business to get on the platform, to share their best practices with what used to be called the enemy. Right now we understand we're all one. And so, we start with the basics. Randy Gage does a keynote talk. I'm going to do a State of the Union. And then we go, Sarah Robbins is going to actually do the first basic session. And she's making, an organization of $700 million a year. And then as throughout the weekend, we go from basics to intermediate to just pure leadership. On Monday, we've got John Addison coming in. He was the co-CEO of a company called Primerica. You might have heard of them, right? Billions and billions of dollars in sales. So he may know a few things about leadership. But that's the idea, where we get together. And initially, Ben, we just wanted the faculty to become friends so that they wouldn't shoot at each other, right, when things were bad. And they did. They've created amazing friendships. But this year, for the first time, we've got live streaming available. And it's just $97 until Thursday. And then it goes, I think, to $127. So for $97, you get all 3 days. You get all the sessions. I was just looking at we just finalized the end of the schedule. And there's actually 34 different sessions this year. So it's going to be 34 sessions from the platform. And then you get a 2-week replay to that. So you can watch it live, but clearly you're not going to sit there for all day watching it, over the weekend. So for 2 weeks, you get replay to all the sessions. So you can go and rewatch something and take some notes on it. And we've never done that before, but it's time. Again, technology is moving us in this direction, right? So it's not as much about how many people are in the room as it is getting the content out to the right people. And we have it. I have to even look at the website. It's called mastermindeventpass.com. Mastermindeventpass, like a virtual pass.com. Or you can go to mastermindevent.com/live stream or simulcast. But that's the idea behind the event. There are no distractions. We don't sell more events. It's one event a year. There are no additional events. There's no coaching programs. There's no back-ending into other things. We're big believers in letting organizations be self-sufficient. We don't want to be a distraction for them. We want to simply pour into them, give them the best practices we can, build belief in the profession, and then go back and for the next 99% of the time, build your business. Don't be distracted.
For those on this webinar that have not been familiar with this is a no recruiting zone, right, Art?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because people kind of maybe wonder about that, but it's a very safe environment, isn't it? Like amazingly so. It's
amazingly safe. We had to work hard on that. We were the first ones that really did this on a bigger scale, and the culture of the attendees, because there are many people that just come there year after year. It's kind of like coming to Cheers, right? Everybody's like, hey, Norm, like they know each other, they see each other. So there's really two categories of people that might break those rules. One is a brand new person who just signed up in their company, and they're just so excited. It's freshman enthusiasm, right? And that's innocent. And of course, we talk to them in a nice, gentle way, and they get it and they understand. And then there was another group of people that, they're the wolf in sheep's clothing, where they're, I'm a big shot. And the question they always ask is, so are you making any money? Right? And you see those ads on Facebook all the time. Are you making any money in your direct selling business? And that's such a low form of recruiting, because of course there's a lot of people not making money yet. I didn't make a whole lot of money my first couple of years. I had to work on me. So we got to let people have the time to work on them. But those kind of wolves in sheep's clothing, they found that our event is very uncomfortable for them because they just don't fit in. And the attendees very quickly, point them out, and we have to talk to them, and in some cases ask them to leave. But so in the last couple of years, we've had hardly any situations. And if there are, we have to address it, right? But I can also tell you that if you're watching from your living room and you've invited your team to watch the live stream, there's nobody that can recruit you because you're at home. But yeah, everybody's already in this. We always pretend like you're wearing a button that says, I'm already in. You know Michael Klaus, right? I think he's the first guy that came up with that. He said, I'm already in. Don't talk to me.
Yeah. Well, it's just going to be incredible. I mean, I'm recommending to every member of my team that I'll be purchasing my virtual pass. We do have an Isagenix event in Phoenix this weekend that's also going to be doing some live streaming. So guys, that's
Excellent.
What's cool about Art's event is there's a 2-week period of time. So, certainly there's going to be some time you can watch it live, but then you could watch it for 2 weeks later. And I mean, where in the world would you get that kind of live training from, 6 and mostly 7-figure per year, not lifetime, 7-figure per year income earners. So we want to do that. I want you on for another 3 hours, but I promised you that we would just have you on for a little bit of time.
Yep.
I want to honor that. I know you've got to get ready. You've got to get on a plane. Anything else you just want to, in closing, your ad?
Figure out why you're doing this. I mean, and you hear it all the time. Find the why that makes you cry. And it's like become such a meme, and every distributor says it and every leader says it. But, you know, you got to do that. This being an entrepreneur is not always the easy journey, let me tell you. But it is so freaking worth it. Like, once you start to taste it and you get that lifestyle, you get a tan, you know, all year round. And like Ben and I, look, we haven't shaved, you know, 2 days maybe. And it's so worth it. And so you got to figure out what's going to drive you through those peaks and valleys, the ups and downs. Partner with people who care about you. You know, when it comes between watching a generic event or the company event, go watch the company event first. And then if you want to watch the 2-week replay, do that. You know, go company first all the time. I can't recommend that enough, because that is your core. And then, you know, go with a quote that I use, that I've come up with, is your focus forms your future. So now, what are you focusing on to get there? And so you'll pick up, you know, this event in Phoenix. You said Isagenix is having their event. You might pick up 2 or 3 ideas, you know, and say, I need to put those in my focus, and I need to apply those. And it's completely possible. I can tell you that, you know, direct selling itself is no longer on trial. There are millions of people worldwide that are using direct selling to get ahead financially. You know, there may be $200, it may be $500, but, you know, you compound that with your income, you can get ahead financially faster. Then I was in Manila this summer, and I have a friend of mine that runs a company in Manila, and I help him out there, and I was there to speak as well. And they were in the Philippine arena, and that arena holds 50,000 people, and it was filled. 50,000. That's 50,000 dreamers, 50,000 people that need somebody to believe in them. And so, you know, dream big. I know your company's going international. You guys are just rocking it. You're one of the companies that's a great example of how we do it right. And, you know, hold that train, get on it, find your why. For me, it was freedom, right? And get it. Just get it over with. Get it done. You know, when people ask me, what would have you done differently? I said, I would have dreamed bigger sooner. Like, it's really simple. The sooner in life you take care of that financial part, you can enjoy stuff. So there's no reason why it should take you 30 years to take care of the financial thing. Take care of the financial thing sooner. It's completely possible. That's the best part of it.
Oh, thank you, Art. My friend, that was fantastic. Focus forms your future.
Yeah.
Dream bigger sooner. So great. So, hey guys, who on this webinar wants to travel around the world with people like Art? You go to 83 different countries. I mean, you know, I see his images all the time on my computer, and I travel virtually with him. It's really cool. It's kind of like I've been there. But how about really going there? So, Art, we just all thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we're going to get a bunch of virtual passes.
Yeah, that's entirely up to you. I'm just happy to be here with you guys. And, you know, if you pick up one good idea at the conference that you're watching from Phoenix, that's worth watching. That's all there is to it. You know, it's one good idea. And odds are you're going to get a whole bunch more than that.
And by the way, so you know, Art did not ask me or anyone else to promote this event. I called Art because I'm excited about this event, and I wanted him to talk to my group because I know it's going to be spectacular, and I want you to get that insight. So relax with your family. Have a great evening, Art. And for those of you that are on, we're now going to go into the second part of the webinar.
All right. So we'll see you later.
Speaker. Thanks, buddy.
Right. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us. So what we've got, Emily Stoik is getting ready to come on right now. And then she is going to be bringing JB Nicholson on, and it's going to be absolutely spectacular. So, hey, let's get some chats going while Emily comes on, and we kind of set up everything for the next one. Show me some things in the chat about what you've learned.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome.
Can you see and hear us okay?
You guys sound great. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I hear you perfectly.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording. And, okay, hang on. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. 1 second.